Hello everyone. So today we are going to discuss about lists in Python. So in the previous videos, in the data types video, I have showed to you that list is nothing but a sequence. Means sequence is a data type, and within that data type, list is a subtype. It is just a collection of values, whatever values it could be numeric, it could be alphanumeric, it could be text or string or anything, or even it can be an object also. Just it's a list, but we have to also keep in mind along with that that this is an ordered sequence. That means all the values or items, if we say, that are there, they are all kept in an order. So whenever we want to uh, call upon a particular value, we can easily call upon those values because they are always kept in an order. Okay, so now the values that are there inside a list are actually called elements. Now how are the elements usually kept? We keep the elements usually in the square brackets. And these particular things can be uh, mutable. That is, the list is always mutable. It allows duplicate values. So to access a particular list or then items in a list, we just use the index values in a list. Okay, so let's just check out how we can declare or create or initialize the list. So usually this particular over here we are going to demonstrating the use of a list in Python. Okay, so this is going to be our main discussion or part of this video. So this is how we are going to do this. So first of all, I'm going to put everything in comments. Okay, then we are going to check out how this particular thing works. So first of all, then how are we going to declare, or how are we going to create a list usually? So whenever we are creating, let's talk about the syntax. So first of all, there is the list name. That is the list name, and with the list name we give an equal to symbol, and within the third brackets we assign items. That is item 1 comma item 2 comma dot dot dot. It can be an n number of items, and it can be n number of items. Okay, so for example, we are going to write, if I just write example for over here. So suppose if I want to create a list with the name list1, this is the list. So with the name list1, this is how we going to put in the values. Okay, so this is how we put in all the values that are there, and within the list1, whatever value we want to put, we just separate them with the comma. Okay, so the square brackets that are there, they are going to contain the values or the elements that are there, which makes up the list. So this particular term is called creating a list. Now we whenever we are putting in some values in it, whenever we are putting in some values in it, or if we don't even put a value in it, we can keep an empty list. That is actually called initialization. That is, we are giving something to it. So therefore, whenever we are writing this particular term list1 equal to, within the third brackets are empty, we are initializing a list, and currently the list is empty. It does not contain anything. Okay, now how or what kind of data can it have? A list can be uh, filled with any kind of data. That is, it can contain strings, integers, float values, objects, or even a list can contain other lists also. So let's take an example of another one more example over here. So let's take a car as a list, and over here we can type in maybe uh, as we can say that, if I say Ferrari, then we can say BMW. So in this way, what we can do is, in this way we can create a list that contains different name of the cars. Okay, so this is how it goes. Okay, now for numeric values, so this one, it contains string. So suppose if I write numbers, okay, numbers is a list, so equal to, I can write 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4. So this is how we can type in numeric list. And even if we want, so maybe decimal values, decimal values if I write, so I can write 1.4 comma 4.7 comma 8.6. These values also can be stored inside a particular list. So this is how we can create a list of different types of values. Now how many types of lists are there? There are three types of lists. Okay, so if I say types of lists, types of lists, so we can say we have at first empty list. Definitely, if we don't enter any kind of element in the list, it is going to be an empty list. And along with that, we have long lists that is going to contain a lot of data. And after that, we can say nested lists. Nested list means it is going to have list within a list. So as I showed to you that whenever we say that is a long list, it means that it contains a lot of elements. In that case, we say it is a long list. And if we have, maybe if we want, we can keep lists containing characters, lists containing vowels, lists containing consonants. We can definitely create all those kinds of lists over here in Python. Let us check out some of the examples of this list. So if I write over here that list1 equals to this means this is an empty list. Whenever I say a long list, so if I write list1 equal to 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6 comma 9 comma 10 comma 11 comma 12 comma 13 comma 14 comma 15 comma 16 comma 17. So in this case we can say a lot about that this is a long list. Whenever the number of elements reaches certain numbers more than 4, 5, 6 or 10, we can call them as long lists. Now what about nested lists? So we can say that nested lists are as such. Suppose if I write over here that list 1 equals to 1 comma 2 comma 3. Now after 3 I give a comma and then create one more list within it, 4 comma 5 comma 6, and after that I again give a comma, then write 7 comma 8 comma 9. So this means that list 1 contains a nested list, that is 4 5 6 itself is a list within it. So these are some of the examples of the list that we have. Now definitely it is like, suppose we have a sequence, we already have a sequence with us and we want to create a list out of it. Okay, so by default there is a function called the list function, using which what we can do is we can create a list, or we can convert another sequence to a list, such as the string. Suppose if you are talking about a string is also a sequence. So it means that if we use the list method that is there in that is a built-in function in Python, then what is going to do, it is going to convert that into a list. A list can be converted not only from a string but also from a tuple. So if we have a tuple with it, tuple is also a kind of a sequence which is non-mutable sequence or immutable sequence, whereas list is a mutable sequence, so it can be converted in that way also. Okay, so suppose now if I use this function. Okay, so now this next part is about creating a list from an existing sequence. That is, the sequence is already existing. The sequence is already existing. You do not need to create that sequence anymore. It is already being done. So we can say that simply we can say to create an empty list. Suppose you want to create an empty list. To create an empty list, we can just use the built-in function, that is list. So this is the built-in function list. So what can we do from over here? So if I type here over here list1 equal to list, so upon running list1 equal to list, it is going to just give us an empty result. That is, the only empty third brackets are going to be displayed over here. So this is what we can say, that this is a list. Now suppose I want uh, to create a list from a string. So over here if I write that, let us write list1, this is the name of the list, and this is the list function. Within the list function, if I provide a string, within the list function if I provide a string hello, that this string is going to be converted to a list, and when you display the list, it's going to separate each and every character HELLO, and this all these 5 characters are going to be separated, and that is how it is going to be displayed within a list. So I will definitely show you how those happen uh, quickly. Okay, so this is what we can do, and this is how we directly convert a string from uh, list. This is how we create a list from a string. Now we can also create a list from user input values as well. So I will show those things directly in the example section itself. So let's try it over here. So now let us take an input from user. Let's take x equals to input. So we are going to use this function input. So I'll say enter a word. We'll ask a word from a user. Okay, then we are going to create a list. Is list1 equals to, we are going to use this list function, and we are going to pass the value x into it. So with that, it is going to put in, means whatever word we type, it is going to separate that word. Each and every character in that word is going to separate it and put it into a list. So let's check it out how it is being done. So if I just use the print statement over here, and I want to print the list is, okay, and then I'm going to give a comma, and after that I'm going to put in list1. Okay, so this is going to happen, and with this what we're going to do is, if I run this program, what is going to happen is going to ask me to enter a word. I will enter hello, and what it is going to print, it is going to print each and every character separated within inverted commas, and they are going to be in form of a list. So let's run the program and check how it works. So as you can see, it says enter a word. So let's enter hello in it. So as you can see, as I had said, this is going to print in a list. Always remember, the list is always printed within a third bracket. A list is always printed within a third bracket. It cannot exist without a third bracket. So the third bracket or the square brackets will always be there whenever you are trying to print a list. So this is how we can print or we can convert a string directly to a list by using the list function. So definitely this is how we can do it. Now this is the another way also, that I took user input directly, and then by using the list function we are already doing it. Now suppose I already have a list. Okay, I already have a list. So if I want to create a new list by removing or by extracting the values from an existing list, so how can we do that? Okay, so first of all we are going to learn that creating a list from an existing list. So this is the third point that we are going to discuss over here, that is to create a list from an existing list. Okay, so this is how we are going to do it. Let's remove whatever we have done for our practical purpose. So let's do this. So first of all, let us create a list before we begin. So list1 is equals to, so let's take some few values, 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5 comma 6 comma 7 comma 8 comma 9 comma 0. So these are the values that are there in our list. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to create a new list by extracting the values that are there from the list. Now I'm going to create one more list. Okay, so how is this going to happen? So let's check. So now I'll create one more list, that is list 2. Now if I write over here as such that list 1 within the square brackets, if I give a colon, if I do this, what it is going to do is that it is going to create a copy of list 1. Whenever I am doing this, it is going to create a copy of the current list that I have. So list 2 is going to contain all the values that are there within list 1. So let's check it out. Print list 2. So we are going to check it out in this way, whether or not it is working properly or not. Okay, so as you can see, it is displaying all the values that are there in list 1. So with this particular method of writing, that is list 2 equal to list 1, and within that if we give a colon symbol, it is what it is it going to do, it is going to create a copy of list 1 and it is going to save that in the variable list 2 over here. Now suppose if I have one more list, that is if I create list 3. Now suppose I just want values from the first index position to the third index position. So if I write over here 1 colon 3, 1 colon 3, that is how we are going to do it. Sorry, we have to name the list 1. So from list 1 I want values from 1 to 3. So let's check it out. Print list 2 comma, if I print list 3 itself over here, so we are going to check how it works now. So it is going to extract the values. As you can see over here, it is printing 2 and 3. I said index values, so therefore we have studied about index values in the strings chapter. Over here in the same thing is also applied over here, that is the index position starts with 0 1 2 3 4. So I gave 1 2 3. This is 1 colon 3. I gave 1 colon 3. So means that this is index position 1, this is index position 2, this is index position 3. So therefore, as we know that whenever the last term that we are writing, it comes and stops before that, so it is going to only display 2 and 3 as the items within the list. So this is a way in which we can extract the values that are there in list 1, or the specified values that are there, we can extract it from there and put it in this new list that are there. Now another way of copying a list, another way, so I showed you that I can definitely write this one list 1 right colon. So this is one of the way. Now if I create a list, another list called list 4, and I just write list 1, so this is going to just copy the complete list to list 4. So this is also another method, that whatever present list we have, if I want to copy it to another list, we just need to put it inside a variable, or we just need to assign another variable to it so that it can contain the copy of the existing list that we have. So let's check if it is working or not. So if I put comma over here and type in list 4, we'll just see the same values being printed over and over again. So first is this is list 2 first list, this is list 3, and as you can see we just copied everything from list 1 to list 4. So as it is there, it is printing as such. So this is how we can copy one list from other list. So this is one of the simplest way of copying one list to the other. So in the next video we are going to discuss how we can do the indexing. Definitely the indexing procedure is going to be more or less similar that we have learned in string, but still we are going to discuss those in detail. So this is the end of this video. Thank you.